said, the moderator said, well, do you really think that it matters where the campaign contributions come from? And the answer is, obviously, it does. And if you think that people are going to get money from CEOs of drug companies and going to tackle the greed and corruption of the pharmaceutical industry, you're mistaken. If you think people are going to get money from financiers in the fossil fuel industry and they're going to be prepared to take them on and transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy, you'd be wrong. So it does matter where money comes from.
This is Bernie Sanders campaigning in New Hampshire. We have an election coming up on Tuesday. As you can tell, Sanders still on message. This is off of a dominating debate performance on Friday, where, for the most part, Sanders held his own against all comers. And again, staying on message. There are things that I wish Sanders would have done a little bit better in the debate. For example, for a man that walks with Martin Luther King, you shouldn't necessarily give up the civil rights argument to Tom Steyer. And Lord knows you shouldn't give it up to was not a part of the civil rights movement, despite being part of the civil rights movement, Joe Biden. You should not let him get credit for something that you, for the most part, have earned. Nevertheless, Sanders is doing well. You guys have known me to fetishize polls, or at the very least, to say trends within polls. Because again, I think trends are the things that matter more. You've also heard me say that state polling or national polling lies. For the first part, a trend that breaks is going to show movement within the context of the numbers themselves. Meaning it becomes vitally important to figure out where are the main constituencies of a particular candidate and what is the direction, meaning the momentum of those constituencies going to a particular candidate. For example, Sanders with the youth vote, Biden with the elderly vote, Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren with the wine crowd vote, essentially the liberal, wealthy liberal class vote. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say that. Or Sanders with the Hispanic vote, Joe Biden with the African American vote. Those are trends. Sanders surging is a trend. That's a trend from the standpoint of momentum. After the fake win, Pete Buttigieg surging, especially in New Hampshire, and some of these polls going up by like 10, 12 points. One of the things I want to show you from the context of trends, Joe Biden. I've argued that Joe Biden is living off of electability. I've said this for months, that the thing that Joe Biden, for the most part, has been dominant on is this notion of electability. Now, my point was that if Joe Biden loses the first 3 states or 4 states, how can you be electable if you're losing this many states? Also, from the standpoint of national polling lies because of issues of momentum. The person who wins Iowa gets bumped going into New Hampshire, which gets bumped going into Nevada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can tie together multiple states, well, not just tying together multiple states, you have a certain amount of head of steam going into the next few states. This is vitally important, especially if somebody is living off of an argument of electability, and you, meaning not that person who's living off electability, have a full head of steam as you win state after state after state. One of these trends that is just broken is Joe Biden and the notion of electability. Take a look at this. This is Emerson. As you know, Joe Biden finishes 4th, a distant 4th in Iowa, Amy Klobuchar coming really close to catching him. So this is New Hampshire, Emerson polls. Who do you expect to be the Democratic nominee? Who do you think is going to win? Look at this. Biden has dropped 23 points. 23 points. Sanders has gained 6 points in 6 days. Here's another one, just to show it's not a fluke. Who do you think has the best chance of winning in November? This is the CNN poll that came out February 7th. Sanders, 29% up +9. Biden, down 16. It's not just one poll, it's multiple polls that is showing movement from the standpoint of Biden no longer seeming to be electable. National polls lie, right? Momentum in the context of state polls. It wasn't so much that Sanders got a major bump in what took place in Iowa. He did get a modest bump. Buttigieg got the larger bump. But it was more so that the guy who was supposed to be massively electable ends up in a distant fourth, making him look not all that electable at all. You add to this the fights on Social Security that he was losing, that he lost monstrously, picking a fight with Sanders on Social Security. And you also add in this weird, uncouth, belligerent behavior that he's been experiencing in the various town halls and the various meeting events. That hasn't gone over well. And after Iowa, it really didn't go over well. And so what did you see? You saw this notion of the public looking at Biden, his one key argument of electability, and looking at him and saying, maybe that guy's not electable at all. You see the media attention hitting Sanders, and you think, maybe that guy is electable. And look at all this guy's policies. Those policies materially benefit me. My point is this. Biden is showing stress. And I suspect a lot of the stress that Biden is showing is A, it's slipping out of his fingers. B, he's losing to a socialist. C, these policy positions that at once he could stand. Yes, I want a balanced budget amendment. Yes, I want to cut Social Security. Yes, I want to throw all these people in prison. Those don't look good now. And having to defend that in a contest that you seem to be slipping out of your hands, that could eat away at you. I know for myself, when your physicality, when your body is not up to the task, either you're older, either you don't feel that well, maybe you're experiencing mental degradation, the thing that comes out of that, stress and lack of patience. If you look back in 2008, Joe Biden was an entirely different politician in 2008. And I strongly suspect he would not be behaving the way he's behaving on the campaign trail now. Joe Biden, at a town hall in New Hampshire, asked a very basic question. How does the argument of electability match up with losing and coming in fourth place in Iowa? It's a fair question. And as a politician, you're going to get questions like that. You just have to have an answer for it. What you can't do is call the woman a dog face, a lying dog face pony soldier. Joe Biden angrily calls a woman at his rally after being asked a question a lying dog face pony soldier. Yes, he called the woman a dog face. Yes, he called the woman a liar. No one knows what the hell a pony soldier is. And yet, Joe Biden is still melting down on the campaign trail. I'm going to show you the video. The video is extraordinary because the woman wasn't being aggressive. It wasn't necessarily being angry. She wasn't attacking him. None of that stuff took place. Joe Biden just entirely, completely, outright, in the light of day, in front of an entire crowd, melted down. And you know what doesn't look electable? Calling a woman dogface. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox, Soapbox After Dark, when real men can't sleep. Real men go down into the basement in order to do the news, or I should say my studio. So this video is not going to be long. This video tripped me out. And if I'm being honest, there are a lot of videos that I really want to do tonight that I'm probably not going to get to because it's already late. Contributor appreciation is going to be on Tuesday. So we decided to put that on Tuesday because the election results are supposed to be coming in. And so we might as well just make a show out of it. We can cover the election results. We can answer contributor questions, all that good stuff. So definitely join us here for election night. The show for Sputnik starts on the 18th of February, and that's going to be from 12 to 2, Monday through Friday, every day. You're more than welcome to call into the show, and you're more than welcome to suggest topics. Now, let's get to this. It's not a lot here, in so much as why is Joe Biden behaving this way? And clearly, this is not behavior that is presidential. And anybody that thinks this man is more electable and that he will be okay going up against Trump, who would bring up Hunter Biden, would bring up the failures in regards to the contest, would bring up his Social Security record, him lying about it, would bring up the balanced budget thing. He would bring up all this stuff, the putting people in prison for all of those years, the Iraq war vote, the trade deals. All of this stuff will come up on Joe Biden. And all of it would be correct, meaning Trump doesn't even have to lie to him. In this very specific case, Joe Biden melts down when an audience member asks him a very basic and infinitely fair question.
At Mercer University, and So, so you're arguably the candidate with the greatest advantage in this race. You've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. So, or in the participation. So how do you
She said you weren't burdened down by the impeachment thing. I think what she meant was, at least what I took it, because she was somewhat shocked when people responded. I think what she meant was Sanders and Warren were stuck in the Senate during the impeachment hearings. Nancy Pelosi held those articles. She held those articles, coincidentally, just enough time for the last few weeks for them to be off the campaign trail. Meaning if Joe Biden was going to get any advantage, if Buttigieg or any of these other people was going to get any advantage, it would have been then. Sanders and Warren stuck in Congress. These guys could go out there and do their electioneering. I think that's what she meant. I don't think she was taking a shot at him saying you weren't, you were stuck for the impeachment thing. Unless they thought she was taking a side swipe at Hunter because Republicans were bringing it up. I'm not sure, but that's not the way it came across to me. Let's hear it one more time.
In this race, you've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. So, or in the participation. So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What the fuck is that about? What is that about? That's a good question. All right, Joe Biden, you were the vice president. Everybody knows who you are, meaning you have all sorts of name recognition. You weren't inhibited by the impeachment hearings because ultimately you were still out there campaigning. And yet you came in fourth place in Iowa. Your main claim to fame is electability. So if you lost in Iowa that badly, how can you claim that you're the one that's more electable from the standpoint of winning the race, meaning Trump, and winning the presidency? He said, that's a good question. Have you been to a caucus? She says, yes. And Joe Biden, as if he knows this woman from somewhere and just has a feeling that this woman is lying to him, says, you're lying. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Now, people were scratching their heads like, what? The fuck does that even mean? Now, this is not like no malarkey. I knew what malarkey meant. I think a lot of people knew what malarkey meant. But this is different. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier? So, a few points. Calling a woman a dog face, probably not where you want to go. You might want to avoid that. Calling a random person who you don't necessarily know nothing about their life, calling that random person a liar, probably don't want to go there either. Calling them a lying dog face, even worse. Even worse. Nobody knows what the pony soldier is. It's like these words he just randomly pulled together. You're a lying, butt face, penny pincher. What? You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Now, when the campaign was contacted, Joe Biden said, or the campaign said that this is a line from some kind of John Wayne movie. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Whether Joe Biden is experiencing mental degradation, meaning he's having dementia, or he's getting senile, or he's older, he has less physicality, he has less patience, and so having to be on the campaign trail day after day after day after day, continuously answer questions day after day after day. You're feeling it slipping away. It's slipping away. You see the media now talking about your kid, Hunter Biden. They're asking you questions about Hunter Biden. Doesn't that look bad that your kid was over there getting all of that money like that? You got to deal with those questions. Republicans are bringing it up. You got to deal with those questions. And now, you're the guy that can beat Trump like a drum. And yet you ended up in a distant fourth in Iowa. Whether it's a caucus or not, it's almost irrelevant. The issue becomes an issue of momentum. If you and your claim to fame is I am more electable, that's not based on policy, that's not based on anything. That's just based entirely on public perception. What did I say? I said electability is a fickle mistress. I've been saying it for months. And I also made the argument that national polls lie because whatever happens in the state polls, you choose it in the states and the momentum is going to shift based on who ends up winning in the various states. Joe Biden's key argument has fallen apart to some degree. Now, that doesn't mean Joe Biden is out of this race, but I got to be honest. I don't know how you call somebody a dog face and remain in the race. And I'm curious about how mainstream media is treating this. Let's hear this one more time.
How do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a little bit confusing in Iowa, number one. But let's assume it was everything was exactly right in Iowa. The idea that you come in with about half the delegates that the leaders come in with in Iowa does not necessarily say how you're going to win Pennsylvania, how you're going to win Michigan, where, by the way, the Black Caucus of...
By the way, if you would have just said that, this answer would have been fine. Because it's a fair point to say, look, Iowa's a caucus. And Iowa being a caucus is different than, let's say, elections in, if you want to say Pennsylvania, New York, and some of these other states. That's a fair point to make. The problem is any point that you make is entirely overshadowed by A, calling a woman a liar, B, calling a woman a lying dog face. C, nobody knows what pony soldier is in this particular case. But either way, you outright slandered and attacked a woman for asking you a very basic, straightforward question. How are you more electable if you came in fourth? You had an answer for it. You didn't have to attack her. I guess that's my point. If Joe Biden can't just answer basic questions like this, why on earth would you put him in a general election? He is one meltdown away from attacking somebody, meaning outright punching somebody. And the way he's going after people at his town halls, just basically asking him questions. I don't even know what Joe Biden's message in this campaign is at this point. What I have seen over the past few months is he has been outright attacking people left and right. And that seems like it would be the end of a campaign. Please cover George Chariton harassed by Peter campaign. Yeah, Pete Buttigieg. Apparently they ripped the name tag off of one of the people who were there with the cameras, one of his cameramen, and kept harassing Jordan at the event itself. Jordan kind of made the point, look, I have a press pass. I have every right to be here. Why are you guys screwing with us and us trying to get our messages in? So yeah, I feel him on that. Baltazar, it's Pony Show, but way to show you're in touch with the John Wayne references towards someone who's clearly seen Old West movies. Interesting. So it's not Pony Soldier. It's Pony Show. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So your point is, Baltazar, not only is he using a John Wayne reference, he got the John Wayne reference wrong. He got the reference wrong. Louise Brooks, mainstream media won't touch it. Parasite won Best Picture. The title is changing. Oh, the tide is changing. First foreign language film to win Best Picture and about income inequality. Stunning. Yeah, I heard about that. So we were trying to get the guy who made that film to come on to the show. Somebody asked, hey, why did you make this in Korean? I'm Korean. Why wouldn't I make it in Korean? Why do you make your films in English? Krillin 876. At least he didn't grab her vest. That is true. That is true, Krillin. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Bernie or Guillotine 2020. Biden is trying to do the same bullying Trump does because it works. So Biden told people to vote for someone else. Iowa voters agreed. Yes, Iowa voters agreed. The catch is Donald Trump did that. At the very least, he was, consistent. He was an anti-establishment candidate, meaning he was going against the grain. The problem that Biden is having is it seems like he is getting angry. Like he is angrily going after people who are just at his town halls. And beyond angrily going after people at his town halls, there's nothing wrong with asking him that question. In other cases, he was ducking and avoiding questions. I thought he did better on the debate stage the other night than he has for a long time. But again, it's like you can't say you're a front runner and end up in a distant fourth. That's all. And what's going to take place in New Hampshire seems like it's going to be another beating, Pete Buttigieg has essentially ate Biden's votes, meaning the votes that Buttigieg had, many of those votes came from Joe Biden. Buttigieg surged in some of those polling. And that surge, like I said, came from Biden. So it was almost as if because he lost so poorly and because the media attention immediately shifted to Buttigieg and Sanders, Warren and Biden, for the most part, vanished from media attention. And it started talking about Biden in the sense of loss, collapsed, those type of wording, meaning the media turns its attention away from Biden to Buttigieg the moment that Biden lost that particular race. And because of that, people started questioning whether or not Joe Biden was electable. Our question basically boiled down to what you were seeing in these other polls. Meaning, when you see a poll like this, again, trend. This is Morning Consult. Biden, -5, a drop. Buttigieg, +5. Biden essentially lost those votes to Buttigieg. Here's another one. Sanders, up 9, Biden down 16. Who do you think has the best chance of winning in November? Sanders. They now believe Sanders has the best chance of winning in November, a 16-point drop. Who do you think is going to be the Democratic nominee? A 23-point drop for Joe Biden. You even see this if you go to, what's the gym? 538, Nate Silver's blog. Nate Silver gives a list of these states coming up to Sanders, almost in blowouts in some of these cases, meaning Biden has imploded. I thought Biden was going to implode, but I have to be honest, I did not expect it to be either this swift, nor did I expect it to take this long. And I know it sounds like I'm saying two things at once, but I'm not. I thought Biden would have a decline. And I thought it would get to the point where before he even got into the first few states, that he would start to drop off either for something that he said or because his policies were so out of kilter. When that didn't happen, I think the Biden camp realized that the people weren't voting for him for policy. They were voting for him because they thought this is the guy that could beat Trump. So he led into that. He leaned in. That argument works if you can survive through the first few states that are not favorable to you. But again, momentum is an issue. And the way Pete got his bump, he got that bump in many respects off of Biden and Warren. I didn't know Biden was going to collapse this fast. That's all. The catch becomes, can Joe Biden survive to South Carolina? And if he does survive to South Carolina, well, the last poll I saw in South Carolina, Sanders was just 5 points away. And again, this was a contest where Biden was like 20 points up. The electability trend is faltering. And what you're seeing is effectively the unraveling of Joe Biden's campaign because of so much he staked on that very particular argument. All right. I'm going... Oh, there's more. No, I'm saying Joe's failing to showing he's in touch by referencing someone that's at least double the age of the person he's trying to connect with, right? Joe Biden is failing at showing he's in touch by referencing something that at least double the age of the person he is trying to connect with. You know, it's funny. I don't think Joe Biden is looking at as connecting with the thing. I think it's a few things, right, Balthazar? It's a little weird reference in general. Like if you think of the reference that you think of and the thing that first comes to your mind, that came to his mind immediately. He was thinking of a John Wayne quote. That was the first thing he was thinking of. Look, either way, clearly, it's bad form to attack the people who are there to ask you questions. That's all. I mean, these people are voters. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't say anything out the way to them. It's a perfectly fair question. And you can look at the polling yourself and see the precipitous drop by Joe Biden. And if that precipitous drop is being shown in polling, why wouldn't people who that polling is supposed to represent have some similar, if not the same, questions? Louise Brooks. Booty is the nice grandson all Biden voters dream of. Right? Yeah, right? Change on the outside, continuity on the inside. Basically what Buttigieg is. Can you cover Nevada Democratic Party hire a Pete organizer for? Yes, for vote protection oversight. Yes, that's one of the shows. I have a few. Tulsi saying Tom Perez should resign. The thing for Pete Buttigieg, effectively, they're hiring a Pete Buttigieg organizer to be the person who, for like election security or vote security or something. Sanders' campaign apparently reached out to the DNC on this. The DNC also, I mean, it gets worse than that. They're verifying results that every newspaper says are bogus. Meaning there's some precincts that they don't even think have been counted, others that have been counted twice, phantom voters, all of this stuff. The newspapers are like, we can't say who won because the election is so screwed up that it is impossible to kind of come to a determination where you would know definitively. The DNC, or you should say the Iowa Democratic Party, is still trying to make the argument that the numbers might be wrong, but we can't really change these numbers to stay within our rules. It's like, wait, so you're going to validate numbers that you know are wrong, and you're trying to say that you validating numbers that you know are wrong has something to do with election fairness? It's ludicrous. They're trying to steal this outright. The Sanders camp, to their credit, are essentially trying to get several districts recanvassed because, in their minds, we won Iowa outright, and here's the proof of this. You need to recanvass these particular areas, and when you do, you will come out with the different result. Look, personally, I think if they recanvass, they're going to come out with a result that's more in favor of Pete. This entire process has been in favor of Pete. I strongly suspect that this is one of those numbers things. Only thing you have to do is an analysis of the numbers, the results. And if you find several discrepancies and those discrepancies seem to head in one direction, then I think you can say, well, it seems like there was a bias towards Pete. Now, you could say that was a bias of incompetence. I don't entirely buy that. But nevertheless, that's a numbers issue. Sanders is pushing to get a recanvass. And, you know, if it wasn't for him being a bit aggressive in the beginning, they probably would have stole this outright. If it wasn't for lefties pushing to get the first and the second totals for them to see, again, they probably would have stole it outright. And if they stole it outright, there will be no spotlight on them for this theft. Nevada is trying to argue they're not using an app. Nevada is lying through their teeth. If it's on a device, by definition, it's an app. When you open your cell phone, that's an app. When you hit a messenger, that's an app. All of those things are just applications. They're trying to argue that what they're using is not an application, it is a tool. That is some of the most propagandistic shit I've ever heard in my life. It is literally, by definition, as a flat fact, an application. So, you know, this is not something you can trust. Sanders, in order to win this, is going to have to blow this out. He just says, Trudy, what's happening, Trudy? Is forecasted to win an average of 31% of the vote in South Carolina and 80% of simulations. Wow, he wins between 13% and 50% of the vote, 538. Wow. That's what I mean, Trudy. Biden has collapsed. And you should have heard Steyer at the debate last night. Steyer was shucking and jiving for the black vote like nobody else. Biden takes that vote for granted, just like the Democratic Party does in general. So it bugs me when Sanders doesn't toot his own horn on this stuff, that he doesn't make this pitch of, look, I was marching with King, and point out Buttigieg's problem record and Joe Biden's problem record. Steyer, oddly enough, was the one that kept pointing that Buttigieg can't bring the party together and he would lose to Trump. He was saying that in this kind of dog whistle way, but basically he was saying that guy can't get the black or Hispanic vote. Why are you even pretending like he is a contender? So, but that's what's going on up to this point. Biden is attacking people at the race. The DNC is still being shady. Sanders is still staying on message. And New Hampshire is coming up on Tuesday. Contributor appreciation will be during the primary, during the New Hampshire primary. I thought it'd just be cool. All of us can hang out. I'm going to try to get various guests to come on the show during that time frame, and we can cover the election. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.